Hi, I'm Jess and I am a Cutwoman from Ireland. What we do as cut people is keep a fighter fighting where we possibly can. Because at the end of the day, it's their wage, it's how they earn and it's how they feed their family. So like the priority one is to keep them in there, and two, to get them home as safe as we possibly can.
Yo, if you didn't know and have been living under Dana White's biceps, Fight Front is sponsored by Jocko Fuel. You get 10% off when using the code MMA on point, and you get the ultimate natural energy boost with it. Stick around to the end of the video to find out more.
So I was lucky enough to be like the first woman this side of the world to work like on live TV doing MMA, which was with Bama back in 2016. And I'm lucky enough that I've worked like on Cage Warriors, on Bellator, Brave. We've worked hundreds and thousands of shows over the years, wrapping thousands and thousands and thousands of sets of hands, from like the smallest show in like a back room of a pub right through to some of the biggest arenas in the world. It's about wanting to do a really good job and look after people. So we are not doctors, let me just put that out there. And we generally treat just inside the cage. We treat everything from lacerations, hematomas, and I mean lacerations from everywhere. So like you could get a really bad laceration on the leg, do you know that way as well? So like we don't just treat faces, we treat the whole person as a whole, but it generally is the faces. We will treat in the cage and we use specific type of treatments in the cage, and there's a number of different ones, natural, non-natural. Everybody treats differently, everybody uses different products. What generally happens is once a fighter comes out of the cage, we then have no more interaction when it comes to them medically wise. We don't work for the fighters first and foremost. We usually are brought in by the promotion and we're generally freelance, and we need to stay as neutral as possible. We have a separate commission on the big shows that come in that we work on, so they'll sign off on everything that we do hand wraps wise. On the smaller promotions, usually we will commission ourselves, and hence why we have to stay as democratically safe, or whatever you want to call it. You can't have any favouritism, and whether or not you like someone personally, you know, it doesn't come into play, and it shouldn't come into play, and if it does, then you should not be in that job and you should not be doing that role. I cannot stop a fight. No cut man or woman can stop a fight. Just so people understand, like, that is not our job, that is the doctor's job. I've built up relationships with the doctors that we work on. Like I said, we've been doing the same promotions for years and years and years. They will generally know by my face that I'm not happy. So usually what I'll say to a doctor is, give me my 40 seconds to treat them. And if you're not happy when I'm finished treating them, then by all means you do your job and stop them. A doctor can't treat in between rounds. So if a doctor treats you, your fight is over anyway. A doctor can come in, they can wipe you, they can assess you, but they cannot treat you. So the only person that can go in the middle of the rounds is a cut person. Doctors and nurses are clinicians. They have the luxury of time to assess something. I don't have that. So I teach people how to assess and treat on the spot. And that's what we do as cut people. Sometimes a fighter is his own worst enemy. He wants to stay in there. I think sometimes coaches allow that to happen. And we're lucky that we have so many like good officials now over the last sort of decade or so that have really like looked at it and gone like, nah, that's not happening anymore. I try never to work in their face where possible. So I'll always work to the side of a fighter, and I always work to the side that's damaged. I don't like to take the coach out of the face of a fighter. I want them to be focused on the coach and what the coach is saying rather than what I'm doing. Sometimes you do have to work in the front and you sort of have to guide the coach around to the side out your way. Most coaches read your body language, and that should be the way it is, especially where there's a cut involved or where we're going in to grease them and straight back out again. I don't understand the cut man sitting down in front of it for a little tiny cut here when you can do that from the side. I don't think our role is any more important than any other role within MMA, as in, you know, a ref or a judge or a commentator or any of that sort of stuff. I think we all have to work together. The one really important part is that we look after the fighter to keep them there. They know what they've signed a contract to do, but, you know, a lot of these have families at home, and we want to make sure that they get home to their family. If me having to go in there and push a coach out of the way to get to my fighter where I have 40 seconds to look after them. I don't care about the coach, I don't care about the promotion as and such, like, and usually I would always say, like, if I come in, like, don't panic. It doesn't mean I'm in there because you're cut. So we go in between rounds just to grease up, and the reason we do that is to keep your skin nice and supple so that the skin sort of fluctuates rather than tears. Just because I'm coming in with a wet cloth doesn't mean you're like badly damaged. So usually if I've wrapped their hands, I usually cover their corner, and then you get a lot of them that'll come back and go, oh, can you wrap my hands, or can you work on my corner, or whatever, you know. MMA, especially this side of the world, in UK and Ireland, we probably have the highest standard of safety. Even the lower, you know, level shows constantly spitting out fighters into these next level, the stepping stone up there, and they're getting used to that level of care down here. So they are expecting that now as they move up through promotions. And if you're not meeting that, they're not afraid to say it anymore, whereas before fighters wouldn't say anything, coaches wouldn't say anything, and I wish they would say a bit more sometimes. We should be striving all the time to make that, you know, that it's never really reachable. Then we just become stagnant, and then it becomes unsafe again, and that's not what we want. Like, none of us want that. The reason we make sure the hands are wrapped is because fighters will get longevity in the sport. Your hands are your money makers at the end of the day. And if you fuck them up, you're going to be arthritic by the time you're 30. It will never ever stop you from breaking your hands, but what it will do is lessen the damage. Nobody wraps the same, but there is a few little things when you're wrapping that, like, everybody should do to keep the bones in the right place, and, you know, when the vibrations from punches, you know, so they can't really move around too much. And, you know, we bear a structure, a base structure when we're doing hand wraps, that, you know, the wrist, the thumb, especially the thumb, because once the thumb goes once, it generally goes like every time. We try to make sure that, you know, we've a good bit of crisscrossing on to keep. And what it does is it keeps the bone structure in the right place. We often have little ways where we'll help with, like, small little padding bits that go in between the knuckle to take the pressure off and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like there's little techniques that we can help, but generally 99.9% of the time I can convince a fighter to wear a set of wraps. People think we get a small fortune for covering shows. When I do bigger shows, all that money from those shows, and I say all that money, it's not that much, gets put back into inside out care. So it averages between about £300 and about $1,000 per show. If you're good, you can barter with them. I have a huge body of work, like, so I generally will barter. I wouldn't call it unsung hero. I think we all play our part, like. And I mean, some of us have had to work on some damn fucking hard cuts, like, over the years, that have kept fighters fighting, and then they've gone on and won. For me, it's a case of making sure that, like I said, everyone goes home safe at the end of the night, like, and people get home to their kiddies and their wives and their husbands, and that's all I care about. But you have to love this sport, like the sport of martial arts, not just MMA, but all the combat sports. Like, you have to love it to be a really good cut person. Like, if you want to do it just for the accolades, then, you know, and to be seen, or, you know, to be heard, then, like, I'll see through that, you know, and anybody on my team.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you head over to jockofuel.com, by the way. They're our OG partners, and yeah, you get 10% off when you use the code MMA on point. So use it. Your sandwich,